You meet someone. There is an immediate pull, something magnetic, something that feels almost like recognition. And for a while, everything seems possible. But slowly, quietly, a familiar ache begins to settle in. They are present, then distant, warm, then withdrawn. You reach toward them and they step back. You give more, hoping that will close the gap. It does not. And somewhere in the middle of all that reaching, you start to wonder whether the problem is you. If that feeling is familiar, this video is for you. Because the question we are really asking today is not just about them. It is about the pattern. Why does this keep happening? Why do emotionally unavailable people seem to find you? Or why do you keep finding them? And more importantly, what does that pattern have to teach you about yourself? Let us start at the beginning. Not the beginning of your last relationship, but the beginning of you. John Bowlby, the psychologist who developed attachment theory, spent decades studying how the bonds we form in early childhood shape the way we relate to other people for the rest of our lives. His central insight was both simple and profound. The way our earliest caregivers responded to our emotional needs becomes the template through which we understand love itself. If you grew up in an environment where love was consistent, where your emotional needs were met with warmth and reliability, you likely developed what researchers call a secure attachment style. You learned, at a very deep level, that closeness is safe, that needing someone does not lead to abandonment, that vulnerability is not dangerous. But many people did not grow up in that environment. Some grew up with caregivers who were loving but inconsistent, present one moment, preoccupied the next. Others had caregivers who were emotionally unavailable themselves, not out of cruelty, but because of their own unresolved pain. And some learned early that expressing emotional needs led to rejection, criticism, or simply silence. In those environments, the nervous system adapts. It learns to associate love with uncertainty. It learns that closeness comes with conditions. And it begins to read emotional distance not as a red flag, but as something strangely familiar. Something that feels, on a deep and largely unconscious level, like home. This is one of the most important things to understand about attraction. We are not always drawn to what is good for us. We are often drawn to what is familiar. And familiarity, when it comes from early emotional wounds, can look a great deal like chemistry. Erich Fromm, writing in the middle of the 20th century, made a distinction that still cuts through clearly today. He argued that what many people call love is not really love at all. It is a kind of merging, a desperate attempt to escape the loneliness of the self by fusing with another person. Real love, in Fromm's view, requires two people who are already whole enough to stand on their own. It is not about filling a void. It is about choosing to share a life from a place of genuine inner freedom. When we have not yet done the work of understanding our own emotional needs, we often look for someone else to do that work for us. We look for someone who will finally make us feel seen, finally make us feel enough. And paradoxically, the people who seem to offer that promise most intensely are often the ones who are least able to deliver it. The emotional unavailability itself becomes part of the pull, because if we can just get them to open up, if we can just earn their closeness, then maybe we will finally feel worthy of love. That is not a character flaw. It is a wound looking for healing in the wrong place. Carl Jung, in his explorations of the deeper layers of the psyche, described what he called the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we have pushed out of conscious awareness because they felt too painful, too shameful, or simply too much to hold. Jung's insight, developed across many of his works, including Ion, was that what we cannot face in ourselves does not disappear. It goes underground. And from there, it shapes our choices, our reactions, and our relationships in ways we do not always recognize. One of the ways the shadow operates in love is through projection. When we have not yet acknowledged our own fear of intimacy, our own terror of being truly seen and then rejected, we may unconsciously seek out partners who carry that fear for us. Their emotional unavailability mirrors something we have not yet faced in ourselves. Their distance gives us a reason to long without ever having to risk full vulnerability. And their walls, in a strange way, protect us from our own. This is not a comfortable idea, but it is a freeing one. Because if the pattern is partly coming from inside you, then you have the power to change it. So what does that change actually look like? It begins with curiosity rather than judgment. The next time you find yourself drawn to someone who seems emotionally guarded, or the next time you notice yourself working harder and harder to earn someone's emotional presence, try to pause and ask a simple question. What is this dynamic asking me to look at in myself? Not in a self-blaming way. Not with the inner voice that says you are broken or you always do this, but with genuine, compassionate curiosity. What does this pull feel like in your body? What does it remind you of? What would it mean if this person actually did open up fully? Would that feel safe, or would it feel terrifying? Sometimes the people we choose who cannot meet us emotionally are, in a quiet way, protecting us from the very thing we say we want. Because real intimacy, the kind where another person truly sees you, all of you, requires that you be willing to be seen. And that is one of the most vulnerable things a human being can do. Relationship anxiety often lives in this space. The anxious push and pull, the hypervigilance about whether someone is pulling away, the constant monitoring of their mood and availability, these are not signs of weakness. They are signs of a nervous system that learned long ago that love is not reliable, that you have to stay alert, that if you relax, something will be taken from you. Healing that anxiety does not happen overnight, but it begins with understanding it. It begins with recognizing that the alarm system inside you was built for a different time, a different relationship, a different version of your life, and that you are allowed to update it. Emotional availability, real emotional availability, can feel unfamiliar at first if you have not experienced it consistently. Someone who is steady, who shows up without drama, who communicates clearly, and does not disappear when things get difficult. That can feel almost boring to a nervous system that has been trained on intensity and uncertainty. This is worth knowing, because sometimes what feels like a lack of chemistry is simply the unfamiliarity of safety. Give safety a chance. Give steadiness a chance. Give the person who actually answers your messages and means what they say a real chance, even if the pull is quieter at first. And give yourself the most important thing of all, the understanding that your patterns are not your destiny. They are your history. They are the map your nervous system drew when it was trying to survive. But you are not surviving anymore. You are living. And living means you get to draw a new map. The question is not whether you are capable of being loved fully and met emotionally. You are. The question is whether you are willing to believe that and to make choices that reflect it. That work is not easy, but it is the most important work there is. And the fact that you are here asking this question means you have already begun. If this video opens something up for you, consider exploring our other videos on attachment, self-worth, and the psychology of relationships. And if it resonated, sharing it with someone who might need to hear it is one of the kindest things you can do today. And if this spoke to a part of you that rarely gets heard, stay with that feeling for a moment. You are not broken because you feel deeply. You are only beginning to understand yourself. Subscribe to Inside the Labyrinth for more reflections on the hidden patterns of the human mind.